this month's theme, which we have decided to accept along with the Centers for Spiritual Living all over the world, is care for the poor. And the value for the month is compassion. Well, that certainly goes along with it, doesn't it? And today's talk is that fair? Let's start with the master teacher, Jesus. He said, "For whosoever hath, it shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that which he hath." Is that fair? You know, at first reading, it doesn't seem fair at all, does it? Jesus also said, "The poor shall always be with you." I don't believe he meant people who don't have enough material goods. I believe he meant the poor in consciousness, which means that we haven't yet awakened to those infinite possibilities that exist, and we're believing too much in what's going on in our particular lives and in the world itself. What we wish to do is translate and transform. We want to translate the poor is me into there is plenty in this universe for every sentient being. Anything that has kept me or any others from great prosperity in love, in health, in material goods is just a changed belief away. And Ernest Holmes taught us that when we change our thinking, we do change our lives. And as we're learning these dynamic principles and then can take them out in the world and teach them, it's very much like not giving a man a fish but teaching him how to fish. Or a woman. We've got a couple of fish right here. I know. Boots up to here, the whole thing. It's great. The same is true for the world itself. And Mother Teresa said, "We think sometimes that poverty is only being hungry, naked, and homeless. The poverty of being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for is the greatest poverty. We must start in our own homes to remedy this kind of poverty. Unloved, uncared for, not heard, not acknowledged, not honored. We need to start right there. When we do, it ripples out and it makes a difference in our greater world." So the greater the consciousness of infinite supply, of course, the easier it is for abundance to flow through our lives. Someone brought up an interesting point this morning, and that is releasing stuff that we've been gathering for a long time. Anyone guilty of that? Not releasing it, I mean. Well, the law of circulation demands that we release in order to receive, huh? We hold so tightly to things sometimes. Right, well, yeah, okay. But we hold too tightly, as Emerson says, we hold so tightly to our good. And we hold our angels so closely that we don't allow room for the archangels to appear. So we do want to get into this flow of abundance where we know that everything that we enjoy in this world is here for us to utilize and to share. It's on loan. Do you realize that? Everything that we have of material goods right now is on loan. And no matter how the Egyptians tried to bury everything meaningful with their pharaohs, they still didn't take it with them, as far as I know. What we take with us is our consciousness. What we're building here today and every day is our consciousness. And as we endeavor to translate those limiting beliefs into expansive true ideas of what is true universally and that can be true for us individually and ultimately into the world itself, so that the poverty that we see begins to disappear and it is changed. Reverend Mike and I, last week, were in a neighborhood of Philadelphia that I hadn't seen before. And it was like blight. It was appalling that our city of brotherly love and sisterly soul had pockets. And we both looked at this as we're driving through, and the houses were dilapidated, and people were not caring, and we saw people kind of on the street corner who looked very depressed, and I thought, depressed people, depressed neighborhood, blight. What can be done? And we began focusing on visioning what could take place. And then Reverend Mike was going, we could get work crews, we could have task forces, we could have people going in and making the changes. Then I found out they're already doing that. That it's one block at a time. Sometimes buildings need to be actually torn down. But there must be this sense of pride. And I don't mean a false pride. I mean a real pride. I had a friend years ago who was from England, and she said, "Oh, you're like me. You're house proud." We like our homes to look lovely. We want them to be welcoming. We want our neighborhoods to be thriving. We want the people in them to be lifted out of that poverty consciousness. And we can help. We can help. We can make a difference. Of course, it all begins with ourselves. It all begins with realizing that when we're looking at a condition, that we're able to see through it. As Jesus said, you don't judge by appearances, but you judge righteous or right use judgment, the right use of the law, where we begin to see the possibilities. We read, where there is no vision, the people perish. We must develop a greater vision. We can do it not only for ourselves, but we can do it for our neighbors. We are the Greater Philadelphia Center for Spiritual Living. We are outside of the city, but the city itself is inside our concept of greatness. And we can make a difference by implementing a different vision. And it might also mean picks and shovels and doing our work and making a difference in neighborhoods. When we are guided internally to take a step externally, let's follow it. Reverend Mike and I belong to the mainline ministerium here. And people care about people. And all of us from very, very different spiritual pathways love each other and work together to make a difference in our neighborhoods and in our community. So we begin by honoring each other. We begin by respecting our different faith traditions and really appreciating them. And we continue by looking to see what can we do here and now for our neighbors. The T&E group, this wonderful woman, she's not a minister, she's a part of our ministerium though, because they help to feed people who need some food. And I think here's a concept that we need to get over in this country. And that is that it is the rich people who, we can be rich in spirit, let's start with that. But the people who have made a lot of money building empires, wonderful, who have created a lot of jobs for other people, wonderful, I celebrate that. But there's a little bit of a disconnect there, I think, between those who build and those who take. There is a false belief, and I know it's false, that there are lazy people who just take what has been given to them. I don't believe that a bit. I don't believe it at all. Because there are hard-working people with children and 2 jobs who are still struggling to have everything they deserve to have. I want to help them change consciousness and realize that there's plenty and they don't have to work hard. God has not required that we work hard. Diligently, yes. In fact, Reverend Mike and I say that sometimes when we have lots to do and we're working away. We've switched it from, I'm really working hard today. We don't say that. We say, I'm working diligently. And I want people to be working diligently and to be doing the things they love to do and to be thriving in that. And you know that someone who's doing very, very well financially, who's thriving, can have a sudden life-changing event. All of a sudden, they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to hospitals. They're not lazy. I would like us to really move into the awareness that every person is desiring to do the greatest that they can do at the level of consciousness they are right now. Let's reach out and help them lift those consciousness by having our own vision first about a world that works for all. I don't want any more poverty consciousness. I want a prosperity consciousness for everybody, and I want no judgment in there. That's where the compassion comes in, you see. When we understand that every person is doing his and her best to thrive in this life and can use some spiritual tools to thrive even more, then we're going to be doing what we came here to do to make a difference in our world. Abundance flows where we've opened ourselves to let that flow take place, including the circulation, including not holding on tightly to things, including knowing someone else can use that, and then becoming open to a greater flow of good. So learning to think prosperously, and that's in every area that we desire, what we consider our good, that assures us of an unlimited supply of every imaginable good. This is our natural state of being. Do you realize that? It's our natural state of being to live in the flow of life, to feel the love that we are, not just that we can have and to express and to receive, but that we are, because we were created out of the one life, and the qualities of the divine are love, life, light, peace, power, beauty, and joy. All of those reside within us. And we're capable of experiencing that natural state of being. And prosperity is part of our natural state of being. Having enough starts with being enough. So how can we impart this to others? First of all, let's impart it to ourselves. First of all, let's live from that place of overflowing good. We want to imagine. We want to visualize. Visualizing is an important thing. Renewal for ourselves and for people everywhere. Ernest Holmes said, I think we should feel as though we are on a mission, not a mission of sadness to save souls, but a mission that glorifies the soul. We are the forerunners of a new race of people. We are the arbiters of the fate of unborn generations. We are the custodians of the chalice of truth. But we are not hung on a cross. We have a song to sing. We have joy to bring to the world, and love and peace and happiness. That's Ernest Holmes in his book, Ideas of Power. We are about ideas of power. Man, you were singing powerfully this morning on the word power. Power. When we realize it's not we of ourselves, it's the intelligence and the love and the compassion and the power of the divine within us that allows us to experience our lives from this powerful base. And to show that to others by living in that place. Being a model for it is the first and the best thing that we can do to help to lift others, don't you think? Living our lives fully and freely shows others that it's possible. It's like that wonderful, wonderful fable about the eaglet that was captured. Yeah. as a tiny little eaglet and chained, tiny little chain to the ground. Didn't know that it was designed to fly. Until one day, when this gorgeous, beautiful eagle came flying overhead, came down and touched its wing to the wing of the little eaglet, which immediately flew up and began to fly. That's a beautiful story. And it's very true about how we can make a difference in other people's lives. Just touch the wing. Like the woman who was healed after touching the hem of Jesus' garment. Touch the wingtip with your wingtip of faith. And when we do, we make a difference in people's lives and they don't even know what happens sometimes. But there can be a deep in-breathing and a great release. Because don't you see, when somebody is upset and limited and fearful, there is this tension. And they hardly breathe. Have you ever caught yourself when you're worried about something, suddenly realizing you're not breathing? Take that deep breath of life and release it, just as we are releasing the tensions, and just as we are allowing the flow of prosperity to move through us. No restrictions, no holding on, release. Take that deep breath. And when we do, we can help someone else do the same thing. Don't you think that that's part of what we're here for? To make a difference in our own lives, to make a difference in the lives of others. No judgment, compassion. And no getting caught up in the way things look, but having the vision that we all share, that we can make such a difference. The law of mind is definite. It is accurate. It is dependable. We can see from the fruits of our lives how we have been utilizing that law. And Ernest said, court the presence, feel yourself absolutely at one as you are, but we forget. Feel that divine life and your oneness with it and have it flowing through you. Court the presence and then speak your word to direct the law. We direct the law every day. It responds the same to a 2-year-old and a 92-year-old. It responds the same to everybody in every faith tradition, every nationality, every difference that we can even imagine, because we are all one and we are all utilizing this law in the way that we understand it, which is why we teach these transformational tools. Which is why we read these wonderful books, come to classes, talk with each other, discover what's working in our lives that we can share with each other and lift each other up. Everyone's going to have an occasional day of poverty consciousness, yeah? Everyone's going to feel unloved occasionally. Everyone is going to feel not enough once in a while. But here, we lift each other up. We practice so that we can go out into our world and lift each other up as well. As we allow ourselves to be enlightened by new ideas, we begin to use the law more intelligently, more effectively. As we open our hearts to greater compassion, we connect with other people in the world in ways that we may never have had the opportunity to do before. As we lift others to greater concepts, we feel better about ourselves. We've made a difference in one person's life, maybe many. We consciously are doing our part to create a world that works for everyone. We don't want to be overwhelmed by that. If each of us does our part a little more each day than we did yesterday, and we realize that there are millions of people working together in this way that we may never meet, light workers. Remember, Mike and I took the train into Philly yesterday. Had a wonderful day. Felt inspired, loved everything that we did, including making friends on the train going in, exchanging cards. I already got a call from a woman who says, yeah, let's get together. We really liked you guys. Meeting people there at the event, meeting people on the sidewalk walking through. It was an opportunity simply to be who we are in the world. Now, don't you just want to be who you are in the world? Yes. And bring the compassion and bring the love and bring the vision everywhere we go. No judgment, compassion. No criticism, caring, realizing there's an opportunity to make a difference. There is a power for good in this universe, and you and I can use it. We use it all the time. Let's use it more for good. Let's use it more diligently. Let's focus on what we wish to see in our lives and in the world itself. Ernest says, you should have a calm which transcends the distorted thought and confusion about any condition. You should have a sense of eternal justice which outweighs any belief or manifestation of temporary injustice, and a sense of abundance which completely transmutes a lesser concept of bondage into one on liberty. Liberty. Liberty for all. I've heard that expression somewhere. I think it has to do with the foundation of our country, and liberty for all. So we sow as we reap. So what are we going to sow? Let's sow seeds of compassion. Let's sow seeds of possibility, of deep connection to Source and to one another. You have so much. You and I have so much in this world, in this life, so much in this teaching, so much in our individual opportunity to be those transparent instruments of good. Let's enjoy it, and let's see that others have that as well. So will you say with me, my consciousness expands. My good increases. I am grateful for continual increase in health, in love, in supply, and creativity for all. Now that's fair. Now that's fair. And so, my beloveds, beginneth our lesson. Thank you.